Mr. Mayor, you can proceed.
Okay. I'd like to call, excuse me, this emergency meeting of the Festus City Council to order. Roll call, please.
Councilman Tinnen,
Here.
Councilman Wilkie, Councilman Underwood, Councilman Venz. Here. Councilman Boyer,
Here.
Councilman Dennis,
Here.
Councilman Weiner,
Here.
Councilman Cook.
Here.
Could you hear me?
Yes, we have,
Okay.
we have a quorum. Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Have a seat, gentlemen and ladies. This Okay, I'm back. This morning we have bill number 4605. Would the city administrator please read bill 4605 for the first time?
Certainly. An ordinance of the city of Festus, Missouri, declaring a state of emergency within the city in order to employ measures to protect public life, health, safety, and property to limit the development, contraction, and spread of COVID-19, the disease creating the emergency.
Do we have a staff report?
Gentlemen, obviously we're meeting here under unique circumstances. I think, as you well know, has well been documented here in the last since Wednesday. We've had a number of employees come up as positives, which has caused us to be concerned. Also, with the county now entering its third week of the threat level being in the red zone, we wanted to revisit whether or not we needed to enact these emergency powers that allows the mayor or myself to make changes in our operations if necessary. I know a number of you have expressed individually to me a concern about obviously our public spaces, lobbies, the library, perhaps enclosed spaces like the band building, but also with public events that are under consideration. Directly hosted by the city would be Winterfest on December 5th, the operation of the Santa House. But I know, I think there's some concern also amongst some that the Christmas parade coming up in another couple of weeks is something to be of concern.
Discussion.
Hey, Greg, I got a few concerns. This is Mike. Actually, it's a combination. I apologize. It's going to be a couple questions and procedural things. If we go to emergency COVID schedule again, will you send out the weekly emails to council, let them know if anything's been changed, any type of job procedures, schedules, any modifications, I guess would be an easy way. Can you send that out to council on a weekly basis until we're back to normal conditions?
Sure.
We'll make it. Okay. Second question is.
So to answer that, I'll be honest, Mike, most of the department's probably want to stay as close to normal operations as possible. The one where we maybe have some concerns is Public Works, where we have, as we know, like what happened with us in August, we had a close contact, less than 6 feet for more than 15 minutes, and we had to shut a whole department down. I think some of the other folks that I've talked to, whether it's police and fire, whether it's city hall operations, I think right now it's more of a concern of isolating staff from the public as opposed to trying to separate us into smaller groups, with the exception of Public Works right now. And again, that's kind of a fluid situation, and would appreciate any input we can get on that.
So I better understand. So it sounds like the way you're answering the question is we may not be going to a COVID schedule yet. We're just going to talk about closing down access to buildings. Is that what I'm understanding?
Correct. And anything, Mike, anything moving forward, when we went into this emergency, the state of emergency back in April, we put a 90-day limit on it. This ordinance is exactly the same as that first one. And I hope I did a pretty decent job of keeping everyone up to date as far as any developments. We did those weekly Zoom calls, and we can do those again if necessary, just to keep council and the mayor in the loop.
Yep.
I don't have a problem with any of that at all. I know you guys want to try to be as connected as possible to this process, so that we can make, quick and nimble decisions as things come up.
Okay. And so others can ask questions too. What I don't want to see happen is I don't want one section of employees to possibly go to a COVID schedule and not the others. I would like to have the city be uniformed on this. So A, we don't create a morale problem. B, we don't create any type of situation where some employees think they're not as important as the others. So I just want to keep it as basic because I operate really good that way. And so that's a concern if you're even talking about allowing that much discretion with department heads. I'd like to keep everything uniform. So I love the Zoom meetings. I thought they went great. And then I do have others, but let me back off so others can ask questions. And that way, if I need to circle back, I can. Thank you.
So Greg, at this point, what you're just doing this in case, or do you have a plan, or?
Kevin, I think where we're at right now is, and as we talked about at the council meeting a week ago, I think we have some concerns about our some facilities are more public than others. The library and the utility billing office are the two most public areas. And with this rampant spread of COVID at this point, I think last week we were talking about it. I think we need to give serious consideration to limiting our employees' exposure at this point, either by closing those facilities as we did back in April, or at least severely restricting their operations. I think our public spaces right now are the areas that we're most concerned about. We've been since the mayor asked us to here 2.5 weeks ago. We've been doing temperature checks upon arrival to work. Everybody has been very good about the masks. With, if you're going to be less than 6 feet away from somebody for even a millisecond, put your mask on. Everybody's been pretty good about following that. So our employees are doing their due diligence. It's just whether or not there's some extra steps that the mayor and the council need to take to keep everyone safe.
Okay. Because I know last time we had, if we go to where less employees, will the supervisors still be manning their offices, the ones that have private offices? Or are they going to split that up again?
City Hall, we're fortunate. There's other situations like Chief Kramer, obviously, over in the PD, Doug and Chief Lewis, Elizabeth at the library. Mark has his own office. But you have employees that can do office work and can say segregated from everyone. And then you have folks like, the PD and the fire department, the building and planning department that've got to get out into the public and do their work because that's the nature of it.
Yeah.
If we're doing occupancy permits, we really can't do those remotely.
Right.
But I think more than anything else, let's just try to minimize our contact as best possible. And,
Yeah.
and the quickest and easiest way to do that is just limiting public access.
Yeah. I think it's a good idea.
Greg, how many people in the city right now, city employees, have been tested positive for COVID?
Within the last couple of days, I know of 4. There could be more, but those 4 have all tested since Wednesday. So they've come up in the last, basically, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, have been the 4 that I know of as far as active at this point.
You doing okay, health wise? When I'm by the hospital or anything?
Some are having some more severe symptoms than others. Higher fever seems to be a common theme. We've been fortunate that they've been able to, one, get tested and then be able to get quarantined and be able to stay safe, and have limited the exposure to other employees. But like I said, as we experienced back in August, as Josh and Chuck can well speak to, you're one positive test away from having it run through a whole department. So we just want to try to minimize as best as possible.
Really, that's kind of a low number that kind of reflects on our people doing a really good job, with only 4 people being down with it. Not trying to minimize, them being sick, but every time I'm out, I see workers in trucks. They got their mask on. I've yet to see one. So I think we need to keep up the good work we're doing and hope we can get through this thing.
I guess my only concern, Kevin, and I think one that all of you share, is it almost depends on who. Matt and I were talking about that this morning. God forbid if I come up a positive, I touch, I'm in contact with all of you, all of the department heads, some of the employees every single day of the week. So I think, depending on who gets it, if we have, one person that works with a group of 5, 6, 7, 8, where they're all in close contact for an extended period of time, then we might have a problem. That's our only concern.
Yeah. Yeah.
Greg, that's my question, because there's been some change in protocols here in the county at hospital facilities and stuff like that, and schools. They're not quarantining everybody if everybody's in a mask. And it seems like there's some pretty decent data out there. What are we following? Because I don't know, are we following the CDC or what plan are we following? Because I guess the point I'm trying to make is, if I have a mask and you have a mask and you're positive, there's no need for me to be quarantined according to the new guidelines that are out. And I support them guidelines.
Yeah, there was a real good graphic that came out over the weekend or on Friday from the Missouri Division of Health and Social Services that talked about the differences between isolating, quarantining, and the social distancing. So yeah, a group of, say, 4 people, everyone's wearing masks. One person in that group of 4 comes up a positive. The need to isolate or quarantine is reduced according to the Missouri Department of Health and Senior Services. So that's based off the CDC guidelines. So they've been pretty consistent about that. The health department is actually, the Jefferson County Health Department was the one that pushed that out in one of their posts here recently. So that's a graphic actually that Margaret and I were looking at this morning, just so she had a better handle on how we need to handle certain things when they come up here with employees. But I think that's something that, obviously to get it out to the public, to share with the public would certainly be helpful. But yeah, there is updated guidance as far as exposures and with a mask, without a mask.
Okay. And then what what would be your next step to take us to a COVID schedule? Because it sounds like what we're doing right now is, which I support, is closing the lobbies and limiting outside contact. So is it more employee positive testing for the city employees to go to a COVID schedule? Is that your next step?
Mike, I think it's council's what your temperature is for us to go back to those schedules. A lot of that was done in reaction to how a lot of businesses were being forced to operate as well, which was either shutdowns or extreme limitations. We're not seeing that now. And I'm not going to get into the political commentary on any of that. All I'm saying is we're not seeing that now. So it would just be, I think we would have to get into a lot deeper water before we would want to severely modify our schedules like we did back in April.
Okay, because I agree, I support that. I think the mayor and you have been on top of this. So that was just a question I have, if we want to add it into the emergency declaration to where we don't have to circle back again, but we can always approach that later. And my last question would be, if we're doing this, I have a perception concern, the elephant in the room. What do we do with the Christmas parade? And what do we do with Winterfest? Because
Exactly.
it looks like the left hand saying, hey guys, we got to be cautious, which I fully support. But I don't want the right hand to say, okay, public, do what you can do. Because my opinion, you're seeing the numbers spike from Halloween. You're probably going to see the numbers spike from Thanksgiving. So what is the mayor and the city administrators feeling on the Christmas parade and the Winterfest, please?
Yeah, Mike, no secret about it. As we talked about last Monday,
Yeah.
the numbers have stayed high. They've continued to go up. I would make a recommendation at this point that it would be very difficult for us to safely conduct the Winterfest celebration and the Santa House operations without really severely curtailing its, the way that functions it's almost impossible to be able to make that event work and still try to get, at the end of the day, this ordinance is declaring a state of emergency.
Yes, sir.
And by doing that, I was on the phone with a member of the chamber this morning. They're meeting on Wednesday. Large gatherings are not being recommended right now. And if we're doing anything or promoting anything that causes large gatherings, then I think that's something that needs to be canceled.
Yes, and if I may, I certainly agree with that. As far as the Christmas parade is concerned, if we are in contact with the Chamber of Commerce, I think that we should recommend to them that the Christmas parade be canceled. As far as Winterfest is concerned, my concern is that if we have Winterfest, someone gets COVID, and hopefully this doesn't happen, but a child would die, then we could be liable for being sued because we had that event, knowing how bad the numbers are, and they continue to go up. So to be quite honest, gentlemen, I would like to, I think that we need to cancel Winterfest and do our best to inform the Chamber of Commerce that the Christmas parade needs to not happen. Now, I'm not a bah humbug person, don't get me wrong, but these are difficult times. We have to make difficult decisions, but we have to be safe. And I want the city to be safe. And so those are my concerns, and those are my statements.
Hey, Mr. Mayor, question for you, sir, because I totally agree with you.
Sure.
On the recommendation to the Christmas parade, though, correct me if I'm wrong, Greg, they need a permit for us to close streets and stuff down till, assuming, I mean, common sense says they're gonna recommend, follow us. But just in case they don't, if we don't prove a permit, there's no Christmas parade, correct, gentlemen?
It's one of those things, as I was saying, I was having a conversation this morning. The chamber has been holding the Christmas parade for as long as they have been. There's really no formal request for a permit, but at the end of the day, the use of the city streets for a public event requires permission being granted by the city. So while we haven't gone through that formal process for the longest time, because it's just a given,
Right.
these are extraordinary times, and therefore we could just the city can just simply state that we are not going to allow it to happen. You can't have a Christmas parade without having a street to have a parade in.
Well, I appreciate the.
Well,
mayor's
I would,
leadership on this, and
I would
agree.
certainly think that us and Crystal City and the chamber could get together and make that decision that this probably isn't a good idea to have maybe thousands of people, how many ever people standing next to each other, isn't a good idea right now, especially with it being the weather, cold weather coming, flu season and all this. I don't think it should be so much we're going to take the street away from them as we need to work together to keep everybody safe, because the sooner that we can get through this and get back to our normal lives, I think that's our goal. And to not have a bunch of people sick or lose a bunch of people. So, I think just a little bit of communication and that'll be the answer. But it doesn't make any sense right now to stand toe to toe with each other. Some people, I was at a gas station yesterday, and probably of the 10 people I seen in, maybe 3 of them had masks on. I mean, I don't care if you believe in it or not. I mean, if it's going to kill you or not, I think that's just crazy. The sooner we get control of this virus, the sooner we can get back to being Americans and living our lives and doing our thing. That's my thing. So if it takes wearing a mask, let's wear a mask. But Christmas parade isn't a good idea right now. And I'm sure the chamber is going to recognize that. And certainly our friends over in Crystal City, which they have a part in this too. I think Greg can probably get that squared away.
Just to throw in as just a extra added, I know JCGA sponsors an event every year. It's a holiday party. They usually have it at one of the local wineries. It was set for December 5th out at Villa Antonio, and I did receive an email notification this morning that event has been canceled. So the Jefferson County, Commerce and Growth Association, looking at obviously the impact that these higher numbers are having on being able to hold an event where you're going to get people together.
Yeah, maybe we can put the lights up in the park and let people drive through, where you're in your car, you're safe, you're not touching each other. Maybe maybe I'm just speaking for a bunch of work that guys. It might be hard to do, but to try to do something for the folks. We like to open them parks up and do new things and think about new stuff, but we got to get through this stuff first.
Well, I think that we're going to put as I understand it, and correct me if I'm wrong, Greg, we're going to put up the lights and everything on Main Street like we always have. Try to decorate it up like we have, and put some festive into this time.
And gentlemen, as you may or may not recall, tourism did sponsor the addition of new Christmas lights to be added to our existing assortment. So Santa House has been delivered. They're doing some work on it. Hopefully this week, the tree's going up, the lights are going to go up. And I think as festive as we can make it, it will allow, groups of friends and family members to be able to gather together on their own, and still be able to enjoy the holidays. We'll certainly make sure that the town puts on the proper holiday pay as best as possible.
Yeah, I'd like to throw my 2 cents worth in here, listening to everybody. I think everybody has some really good ideas. My primary concern, being a councilman, is to protect our city, and which primarily falls upon the employees of the city. So my primary interest is that our police, fire, public works, city hall, I mean, everybody, all the departments are safe, because with things rising as they are, I mean, we are literally one person away from a department shutting down. So I think between Greg and the mayor, you guys will have the ability to make the decisions that need to be made during this time. My only reservation is that last time, when we had a directive for our employees to be wearing masks, when I'd be out walking, I would see numerous vehicles with employees that with a couple people in them that weren't wearing masks, and that concerns me from a safety point of view. Last time we did not have any penalties for this, and I only say this because I want our city to be safe. I think that's something that we might consider.
Just to address that, I think I will agree that there was times of non-compliance, especially during the summer, June, July, August. I think since then, certainly within the last couple of months, we have been a lot more diligent in making sure that our employees have access to the proper PPE, and that they're utilizing it. If we see that they're not, they're being told. A verbal reprimand, or if it needs to be a written reprimand, that's all just part of employee relations. It hasn't come to that because I think we've seen a lot better compliance from all the departments. It's not something that, I mean, if you and I had this conversation in June, I would say that I was concerned because we weren't getting the compliance, but I don't see that. I don't see that now. I think for the most part, everybody gets it and they know that it's important for the benefit of themselves, but also for the people they're around.
Very good. Okay, so I was just speaking from my point of view because that was my reality. That's what I saw, and it's important that the city be protected. So that's why I'm bringing that up to a lesser degree, and I'm leaning on the fence towards agreeing with everyone here, the mayor and Mike and Greg, that these outdoor events, even if they don't pose as great a threat as an indoor gathering, the perception is that we are supporting large gatherings, which is wrong. On the other hand, I mean, it is safer because we are outdoors, but if there were to be thousands of people, for instance, for the Christmas parade, I think that would be wrong. And I totally agree with Kevin in that we should work together rather than, as he said, toe to toe and try to use leverage on someone. I think this should be something that we should all be able to agree upon together. And
because I think the end goal is to get through this and get back to our lives, And like I said, I think wearing a mask in the summer is one thing. It's hard to do. It's hard to breathe. Like I said, I have not seen a truck, and we go for a ride every day in the little handicap van we got. We like going out to the park. We like looking at stuff. I wave to every city truck I see, and the guys have got masks on. I know the police and the fire, they do their thing. They know what they're doing. But I think the numbers, the numbers are there. We haven't had that many cases. So people are listening to what we're doing. And like I said, leave it up to the department heads. Let them handle their people. Like I said, like I said, I don't see it. I don't see it. If I did, I'd say something. But there is something to be said for what we're doing because we haven't had that many sick people. 3, 4, 5, 6 out of the numbers they're putting up right now, is bad because there are people, but it's good because there isn't that many. So we're doing something right. We just got to keep up with it. Like I said, I think we need to encourage. People want to debate the mask all day long. If that's what it takes to get through this, let's put the mask on. And let's get through this. I think that's the intake of this whole thing, to get through this and to get back to our lives as Americans and get back to progress. We're the city of progress. So everything else right now, as far as I'm concerned, that's history. Let's move forward and keep up the good work and do what we have to do to keep the citizens safe. And of course our employees, which we always take care of and we always will. So I think, what you guys are doing is good. Keep communicating, and I think we can get things back on track.
Hey, Greg, quick question for you. Is it possible to maybe, what's yours and the mayor's thought on maybe rewording the emergency declaration? I hate to see any type of expiration period on this right now with us being so uncertain. What if it automatically renews till it's brought up to not renew it? Because it seems like we're staging this a little better, and we're basically taking a safe approach. And the last one expired, and I think that was kind of, maybe that's a little bad insight on my, I should have brought it up or something, but we probably should have stayed under it, to be honest.
Mike, I think it's a 90-day window. And that gives council, I think for the purpose of just trying to get this meeting together, when we started having some stuff pop Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of last week, the idea was to get this posted and so that we, obviously could get the meeting held, but also give the proper public notice of the meeting.
Okay.
It's the same ordinance as the one from April, with just some of the whereases deleted because they no longer applied. There's plenty of time to amend this ordinance between now and 90 days from now. And if we don't have to, then we don't need to. And it was the same situation as we did with the April ordinance. If you guys want to come back, next Monday, for example, and say, we're going to take 4605 and amend, what is it, section, where is it in here? Section 1 of the ordinance. It says, and lasting for 90 days thereafter, at which time the council may extend the ordinance as necessary. So, it's kind of already in there that says that if you want to extend it, you can. If you want to amend section 1 to simply say that it will continue until council decides to rescind it, I think we could do that at a future date. And if we don't need to, then so be it.
Okay, I just want to make sure it's out there because we kind of had the last one expire on us and got away from a few things. So, okay, thank you, sir.
And can you give us an email, like if the park's going to be closed or the restrooms are going to be closed? Because we do get asked a lot of questions about that kind of stuff. I know I was out there yesterday and the bathroom was locked, and it made sense. I was just out riding and went to use the restroom. So, just let us know what's up. So when people ask us, we can tell them.
I think at this point, gentlemen, what we're talking about, and unless you want to do less or more, again, your call. My recommendation would be, though, that we close the public spaces as far as lobbies, and unfortunately for Elizabeth, the library, where they have a lot of contact with the public. And I know, that's their job. They live to be able to work with the public, but unfortunately, I think that puts them and the facility at risk. And then any of the indoor city facilities, and really the only one that it applies to is the rental of the band building. People do have reservations for the band building, not being able to not really have any control over a size of a gathering in the building, but making it available is kind of like the same situation of having what we were talking about with Winterfest. Is you put on an event, you're not really sure how many people are going to be there. Are you creating a circumstance that you really didn't want to do? So that's the proposal for right now, unless you feel we should do less or more. And again, part of the reason we're having the meeting is to talk about this.
I'll leave it up to you guys. You guys know, you guys are running the thing. You guys know what you need, don't need. Just let us know.
Greg, one
I've got a
thing,
question real quick after Brian. Go ahead, Brian.
I'll make it really short, Alex, that as far as the communication goes, I really do enjoy the weekly Zoom updates that when I'm able to make it into them, that were occurring during our previous time. But if we're not able to make it, or somebody's working or something like that, it doesn't present an opportunity to be updated. So if you would just, if you would not mind, please, just a weekly email that would perhaps issue just the really big things that are going on. I think that would be a good service to all the council people to be able to keep them up to date.
Sure, Brian, and to address that, since I know Mr. Malone is on our Zoom call here, we limited the number of council persons that were able to participate in those weekly Zoom updates so that we were not approaching a quorum. And a summary of that call was then sent out to all of council. So there was at no point any violation of any sunshine law or anything of that sort.
Very good.
Very good.
Greg, real quick question. So I'm a little torn on the Christmas parade because it's kind of like, I'm trying to keep a low profile, going to restaurants and different stores. And if I do go to Home Depot, Lowe's, or anything like that, I wear a mask. But how do you explain to people walking down the street in open air? And I know it's about condoning it or not, condoning this, but it's okay to go to the park. It's okay to go to restaurants. It's okay to be elbow to elbow with people at a wedding. But yeah, you can't have a Christmas parade. That to me, it just seems like the responsibility of people. We make our choices of what we want to do and what we don't want to do. And it just seems like we're kind of limiting people on what's okay and what's not okay. You can go out and play tennis, you can go play pickleball, you can do that, but you can't have a Christmas parade. And I'm just trying to be able to answer questions when people start calling me and are upset about that. I don't personally have an opinion on it, but what's you guys' thought on that?
Jim, I'll just say this real quick. I think it's what, pickleball or tennis, you're going to have, 2, 4, if you're playing singles or doubles, that's the size of the group that you're in. If you're holding a parade where even say a large family where you've got, say mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, kids and grandkids, say there's 15 people, they're in that group, but then you have 100 of those groups show up. Before you know it, you've got a lot of people in close proximity of each other. And I think the comfort level that we have on a city endorsed event, a city sponsored event, given the numbers we're seeing, the hospitalization rates we're seeing, it's very hard for us to say from a liability standpoint that this is a good idea. The parade, we can get to the point where we can tell the chamber, well, we're not going to let you use the street. But I think before we even get to that, it's their event and it's their discretion. If they choose to have it or not have it. I guess if at the end of the day, if it comes down to them deciding to proceed, it does come back and lands in your lap as a city councilman to say yes or no, you can't have it. But hopefully that's something that they look at from a liability standpoint and say maybe it's a good idea or a bad idea. It certainly was the case with Twin City Days. I was part of those conversations. along with my counterpart in Crystal. The police chiefs were involved, and what that boiled down to was the insurance carrier for the event for the chamber basically said, unless you can get every single buddy who attends to sign a waiver, and when you're talking 15,000 people over 3 days, you're not going to get every single one of them to sign a waiver. Unless you can get everybody to sign a waiver, then we're not going to cover the event. So I think, again, you kind of get into that liability standpoint, and that I think that makes the decision for you, whether you like it or not.
Right.
No, I agree. I agree with that, Greg. I mean, I just personally, I'm not sure. It's kind of hard to decide what's right or wrong, because ultimately it winds up to be the responsibility of every person, whether they're employees, citizens, or whatever. If it's unfortunate that what we do on our off time, or what we do, after hours or whatever, whether it's our recreation or whatever, I just had a talk with my people the other day, and it's hard to get people to do maybe what you think's right or wrong. But I think over the last few months, we've all got a little bit laxed as far as what's happening out there anyhow. I mean, the virus hasn't gone anywhere. I don't think it's gotten any less. I think it's definitely gotten more, but I think it's because we're not responsible enough for what we do on our time off, or any time. Some people are taking it way more serious than others, and it's definitely difficult to tell the people that are abiding by the rules and trying to stay clean if somebody else isn't. So that's where I'm coming from, and I don't really know how to solve that problem.
Yeah, but don't you think, Jim, that it's it's a liability issue? I do think we need the chamber a chance to at least meet on it and make their decision before we even discuss any strong-handed tactics, because I think we're all in this together. And I would simply tell people, hey, we just, as a city, we can't control how many people can be by each other. We're putting our officers and our staff in direct contact with multiple people. It's a safety thing, and I think it's got a little bit of liability with it. Brian can certainly explain that to us, but we're not doing something unusual here. Everybody's doing this.
Kevin, I agree. I think we should be the stand-up crowd to say yes. We don't approve of that. But unfortunately, what I'm kind of getting at is, every day I'm driving around, I do see the majority, if not all, the city guys wearing their mask, and I'm grateful for that, because it's hard to argue a point when somebody will say, well, I saw that guy, he's not wearing a mask. And so I'm not seeing any of that. I think our people and are doing a great job, but it's just like I said, as far as what the city is saying and doing, I think it's one of the guys, I don't know if it was Mike or Brian, said something about we just got to be consistent with what we do in all aspects. So if we're gonna say we're not going to have a Christmas parade, we're not going to have it. And I don't have a problem with that, but we just need to monitor other parts of the city as well. If you're seeing a bunch of people in large groups in the parks and stuff, I don't know how you would shut them down, but it's still a problem, because we're overlooking that, but we're not overlooking the parade, if that makes sense. So,
well, I was researching this weekend and stuff I seen on TV, and I was actually looking into this. If people won't abide by, on your own, practicing good procedures, you may have to shut down the park. Nobody wants to do that, with the end goal of getting through this pandemic, which, thank God, only comes so many hundreds of years. But, you don't know at this point. You don't know. So, if we see, and we have department heads and we have people out there all the time, if we see things that we think are a liability and people are not practicing good common sense, then we may have to make those tough decisions, closing the park, going back to that restrictive schedule. things of that nature. But, you want to give everybody an opportunity to do the right thing. And when I say the right thing, that's where the debate starts.
Right.
People don't
Right.
believe in this pandemic, then they don't believe it's that bad. It's just sick a couple of days. I've talked to a lot of different people. Most of them have been sick 3 or 4 days. One of them was sick for 3 or 4 months. And these are all young people, all healthy people. Guy like me, hard telling. I don't know if I stand a chance. I have a handicapped kid at home. I got to watch myself. So, that's where you get into the issue of debate. And I think right now, we're trying to do what's best for the people of the city, our employees. And, if we see something, I don't know any department head that you call and give them a heads up that ain't all ears about someone not doing what they're supposed to. Like I said, I've yet to see anybody, and I've been out quite a bit lately. So we must be doing something right. But if we see something, it always can be reported, in a tasteful way, just to make sure everybody's safe. But I don't think anybody wants to get this. So, I think everybody's doing the right thing. Unfortunately, we're making decisions for a lot of other people.
Right.
And we don't want to get into the politics of the whole thing, but it's going on. You can't deny it. What it's going to do to you, I don't know that I want to gamble on it, So we may have to make those decisions. We may have to shut parks down, things of that nature. But right now, I think we'll just have to monitor it, And I think the chamber, I think you're going to be surprised when they come back with their decision. So
Well,
I don't think this is going to be a problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if they shut Twin City Days down, really, what's the difference? You got a lot of people standing toe to toe. It is outside. That helps the spread of it. But, Crystal City should have a say in this. It goes to their town too. So I think Greg, he can sum that up probably.
And I'd like to throw out that Mayor Shelley and I are on good terms. We always have been. I can give him a call and see what his feelings are on it, and what we should recommend to the Chamber of Commerce.
Excellent
Good thought.
idea. Excellent idea.
Yes, Sam. Good idea.
Is there any other discussion?
Yeah, I agree with Jim to a certain degree on this also, to where it is a tough decision. I'm glad we're not shutting the city down. I don't mind shutting down, people walking in some of the offices. I have no problem with that. Because right now we're in our company, we got places, COVID, everybody's company, everywhere you go, somebody's got a problem. I understand that. As far as the parade, I understand that too. I hate to shut down the parade. I understand the safety of it, but unfortunately, if we don't have a parade here, people are going to go Six Flags, Silver Dollar City. They're going to do it somewhere else. We just had that. What was that? 2 months ago, we had behind Main Street. We were against it. The city was against it, but we had to let it go because it's a public event. You guys were telling us. Well, if the chamber thinks they need to do a parade, all we can do is stress we are against it, but the parade goes on. I mean, I don't understand the difference as long as the city, both cities say we're against this, but if you're going to do it, you're going to do it. I mean,
Bobby, just to remind you that
The ordinance.
subsequent to that, we did amend with
Right.
some help from City Council Brian Malone. We basically amended our permitting process that if you're going to
Right.
use a public space and it's during a pandemic, you have to submit. And it's not to say you can't have it,
right.
but what it does say is that you need to submit to the city a safety plan. And that is subject to review.
I
And
understand
its
that.
approval and denial by the city. If they don't like that, they can appeal to council. So we give a means with which for folks to still be able to do this sort of thing.
Right.
But it does require them to submit a safety
Oh.
plan. So the chamber could, at the end of the day, if they wanted permission to still have the parade, they're going to have to submit a safety plan for review to the city. And there you're talking about, are you going to require everyone to wear a mask? Are you going to require everybody along the parade route to be socially distanced? Are you going to require, you're going to put up hand sanitizer stations and cleaning stations and
Yeah,
things like that. So
Right.
Temperature checks.
And I understand that. And like I said, I mean, yes, we should not be doing it. We definitely are in control of Winterfest. We should not do it. This is one time we shouldn't be doing it. But, we got to look at both sides of this also. I mean, it's,
Let's get their answer first, Bobby. Right now, we don't know what their answer is. And like Kevin Dennis said, they closed down Twin City Days. That's a huge day.
Yeah.
I don't see any problems. Let's just get their
Yeah.
answer
Let
first.
them do their business.
I'm sure they're going to
With some
shut the
respect.
parade down also. I
Yeah.
mean, I can't imagine them having this parade, but yeah, like I said, we
can cross that bridge when we come to it. I don't like to go. It's like Bobby said, it's their event. Let's let them make their decision and then we'll make ours. But that gives them the respect of being an organization,
Right.
that we deal with and we work with within our community. So it's not like we're saying you can't have this event. Let them decide and then we'll make our decisions. That's why we have our team here.
Well, and also, guys, maybe I didn't make myself clear. I think what Kevin just said is pretty much hit the nail on the head is, or maybe it was Bobby that said this, we don't condone it. But if an organization wants to put it on, and like Greg says, as long as they're following procedures that we approve of, then we're okay with it. Because we're not allowed to tell somebody what to do, how to do it, but it's kind of like breaking a law. We have a speed limit and this is what you're going to do or you're going to get a ticket. So if we're basically saying that it's up to the organizer, but we don't condone it, I think, and Brian, this is a question for you. As long as we're stating that, I don't think we're liable for anything. You can't keep people from walking up to down the street, going shopping at the stores, and we're kind of saying the same thing, but as a larger group. But if the city is saying we don't condone that, and that's not what we really like to see, doesn't that kind of clear the path for us?
Well, as far as the city's liability, COVID or no COVID, the city is protected by sovereign immunity, which means we can't be sued for tort or negligence actions, subject to a few very specific exceptions, one of which is negligent operation of a motor vehicle, which isn't applicable. The other one is dangerous condition of public property. And the case law on that is basically said that it has to be some sort of physical attribute rather than I don't know, I guess like a failure to warn or a failure to take a certain step on public property. So I don't think that an event on city property would inherently give rise to potential liability on the city's part because we did or didn't take X step, as long as it doesn't fall into one of the sovereign immunity exceptions. It's still, I think, a good idea if there's going to be any sort of activity on the city's property that we'd be taking measures to ensure that it's not actively contributing to the spread. But I don't, in my mind, I've not seen a lawsuit yet that has, in which I guess it's been alleged that the city's failure to do something with regard to COVID has resulted in a waiver of sovereign immunity. There's always going to be clever lawyers out there that might try something though. And obviously we don't want to be the test case, but my view is the city's sovereign immunity would protect us.
So Brian, one thing too, though, that I found out just doing a little bit of research is some, for a better term, I guess, and Doug, you can jump in and help me, is crime and punishment. Let's just say we did say everybody has to wear a mask. And if you get caught and you don't, it's $100 fine. There's no way you could enforce that. It would be like, I don't know, sometimes they say like putting a stop sign in certain places. You can't watch it all the time. And that's been the big debate with this whole mask wearing thing is in, the federal government's going to make everybody wear a mask. And if you don't, then what are you going to do? You know what I'm saying? Leave it up to your common sense. So, that would be the thing. If the parade went on and they said you have to wear a mask, what are you going to do? Have somebody walk them down the street and run people off? Under what law, under what regulation would you do that?
Right.
So
And I think, whether the city has the authority to do that, I think there's a strong argument that it could enact that ordinance. But I think your point is well taken that, then what is the sanction? What do you do to punish it? And right now the court system is dealing with the same thing that we're dealing with. The circuit court and I think a lot of the municipal courts are basically shut down because of the spread of COVID, which, I think that deterrent effect of having the ordinance on the books that gets a lot of people to comply in and of itself. And the fear of going to court eventually can be an effective deterrent as well if someone is were to be cited for violating that ordinance were it enacted. But yes, there are some real challenges to getting compliance even if you do pass the ordinance.
Hey, Greg Camp, do we need a motion to enact this ordinance? Can sound like everybody's involved. Everybody's okay with it.
We would
Well,
need a motion for second reading.
Here's the thing. Is there any other discussion on this ordinance?
On the library, is there any possible way to limit it like they do restaurants or anything else to so many people, or do we have to shut it down?
Well, it depends. Elizabeth, do we have a delivery date on the people counter that we talked about last week? And I know it's been ordered. I don't know if they gave you delivery date.
They haven't yet, no.
So one of the COVID items that we've been looking at that Elizabeth was able to store us is a gateway that goes around the door, and it counts people as they come in, and it allows you to, obviously when you get to you can go back to those if you remember those kind of restrictions based on square footage.
Right. When
they initially started to come out of this the first time. They were saying, okay, well, you can only have, 10 or 15% of your maximum occupancy. The problem we had, I think at the time for the library was, unless you have someone sitting there at the door, like we saw at Home Depot and Lowe's and places like that, where they're just counting every single person that comes in and goes out. So the people counter has been ordered, but we don't have it yet.
But how many we talking with that size of the library? We talking about how many people in there at a time? 5, 10 people?
No, I think we figured it out, and I don't remember off the top of my head. I'll be honest, Bobby, I don't remember off the top of my head the number that we came up with based on the occupancy load for the entire library. But I think the other issue is the nice part about what the gals of the library were able to come up with was a very good curbside program. They had a lot of other options where if a patron has the Evergreen app, they can essentially find out what's in our what's in circulation. They're able to essentially place a book order, and it can be waiting for them at one of the parking spots out front. So there's ways we can still function. But having the people going in and out of the building, obviously, I think is where we have the most amount of concern, is because once they're in there, they can touch everything, and we do disinfect. The guys from Public Works have been going over and spraying the building, making sure that we put the microban on the surfaces, get everything going the way we're supposed to. But when you have it open to the public, it's just one of those situations where there's a little less control over what's going on.
Well, I didn't know if we were talking many people. I just figured with that size of a building, if we was only talking a half dozen people was allowed in at a time, it'd be easier to control compared to
having I think probably, Elizabeth, I would say probably the most used item at the library are the public access computers. People are usually on those the most. As far as, the reading areas, the little cafe area, things like that, probably secondary to that. Outside of that, Elizabeth, what gets used the most?
It's definitely the computers. And we've removed all of the seating in the library. The only seating available are at the computers. So we're doing everything possible to limit the amount of time that anybody can linger in the library. So most people have come in, get their stuff, and then they leave. And the computers are only an hour limit each day. So if you come in once, you have an hour, and then that's it for the rest of the day.
Have you checked with the other libraries to see how if they're closed or limited?
They were, all the local libraries are working with limited hours. None of them are closed right now. The county library has had several instances with different branches and their main kind of hub. They've had COVID related there, and they've had to close branches. I think DeSoto has closed at least once or twice because of a possible COVID exposure. So, and Crystal City, I haven't heard anything about them having any kind of closures or COVID, exposures, but that doesn't mean that there haven't been.
Well, just on that note, then I'd really hate to see us just completely lose that option and then make everybody disperse somewhere else. Besides, that's another thing I'd hate to see happen unless the other libraries were shutting down or limited too.
Well, and I guess it's whatever your comfort level is. Staff will find a way to make it happen.
Well, that's where hopefully you, Greg, you and the mayor and her could figure out.
It should be Miss Steffens
Decision.
and Greg's. They've come forth with a plan, which
Right.
I'm sure is well thought out. And that plan can be adjusted at any point. But right now, I think what they're saying is they can't keep everything 100% safe. These are drastic times. I don't want to close down anything, but it sounds to me like Ms. Steffens and Greg have presented us a plan, and I think that's what we need to go with for right now, till some of this lets up. And I'm not for shutting anything down. I'm just saying, but right now, I'm sure this has been well thought out and it's been brought to us. So I think we ought to roll with what they're wanting to do.
Gentlemen, do we have any other discussion? If not, do I have a motion to suspend the rules and read Bill 4605 for the second time in title only?
So
Need a
moved.
motion.
Motion's been made and seconded.
Hang on, guys, since I'm trying to do double duty here. I got Mike on the motion. Who was the second?
Second it, Dave.
Thank you, Dave. All right.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
All right.
All right.
Would the city administrator please read Bill 4605 for the second time in title only?
Bill number 4605, an ordinance of the city of Festus, Missouri, declaring a state of emergency within the city in order to employ measures to protect public life, health, safety, and property, to limit the development, contraction, and spread of COVID-19, the disease creating the emergency.
Roll call, please.
Certainly. Councilman Tinnen,
Yes.
Councilman Venz,
Yes.
Councilman Boyer,
Yes.
Councilman Weiner,
Yes.
Councilman Dennis,
Yes.
and Councilman Cook.
Yes.
Gentlemen, I don't know if I'm still on.
You're on. We can hear you.
You're on.
We can hear
Okay,
you.
I can't see anybody, but that's okay. The ordinance passes. Shall we give a councilman report? Councilman Tenen?
I'm just grateful to be healthy right now, and I got a lot of people I know that are not healthy, and it's kind of a drag about the COVID, but it is what it is, and let's just all try to be safe and responsible.
Anything else, Jim?
No, that's all I got.
Councilman Venz?
Nothing else, sir.
Councilman Boyer?
I have nothing at this time, sir.
Councilman Weiner?
I'm with Kevin. Let's stay safe, do what's best, and this thing will be gone someday. And let's do our best and be united in our cause. That's all I have.
Councilman Dennis?
Yeah, let's all keep our chins up and let's get through this. Keep up the good work, staff, everyone. You guys do a great job, and this too will pass.
Councilman Cook?
I want to thank our employees. I know this is not easy times for them, and I want to thank, Greg and the mayor. Believe it or not, people listen to your numbers and you have a pretty good handle on them, and I greatly appreciate it, gentlemen. Be safe, everybody.
All righty. Gentlemen, thank you for your time today. Thank you for your thought on this and your decisions. And if there's nothing else, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. This meeting is adjourned. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Meeting is adjourned.